Doctoral students, it's me, Dr. Paul Gerhardt, and we're starting another week of digging into the topic of managing cultural diversity in organizations. And I've done a lot of work in my organizations to help manage diversity effectively. And so I've got some tips today, things that I share with organizations that I work for as I do the diversity work, and I wanted to share some of my insights and tools and things for you to be thinking about. I'm going to be creating a doctoral division website on using Google Sites for you to upload some of my materials that you can use and borrow in doing any work that you may be doing. So stay tuned for that. Some of the things that we talk about in this program, and especially in this class, are being an effective leader, creating systems that help people and organizations be successful. And so there's a lot of things to be thinking about as you venture out and grow your careers. So I'm going to read a few things that I've taught and plant some seeds in your brain to help you continue to grow as a diversity thinker and as a leader as it relates to you implementing diversity. So here are some essentials on how to build some diversity skills. First of all, become aware of the cultures that are around you. They will impact self-awareness activities. So you come from a background that has culture embedded in it, and every person that you are interacting with, there's a cultural background that influences the way that they believe and act. Learn how your own culture, about your own cultures and values and ways. That's kind of the first thing, you really get to know yourself. One of the Chinese proverbs that I love the most is, it's more important to know yourself than to know others. And the wisdom that comes from that is, you can manage yourself. You can't really manage others, but you influence others to act through the way that you act. Recognize your own cultural biases through reflections of the past. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've shared in my video a couple of stories that I've experienced over the years, but you become really aware that your biases influence your actions, as we've talked about before. And knowing your history, really thinking about your interactions with other people of other cultures, genders, sexual orientation, or whatever diversity demographic you're thinking about, people of age, those are the things that help you grow the most. You can never have a better past, but you can create a better future. So be aware, take some time to reflect on your past. You can't have regrets and have that serve you well, but you can take a look at those experiences and grow from them. You're the only one that gets to choose to change and create your better future. And then from that knowledge, build interaction skills with education, case studies, applying new knowledge at work. You've shared that part of the journey in this last session. So be thinking about those things as someone who potentially can lead diversity initiatives in your organizations and help other organizations to do so. So one, you need to be able to understand and value diversity. That's really key, is if you really do see diversity as a positive thing, not everybody does, then you're going to have better successes in managing it. Challenge your own assumptions, biases, and prejudice. We're always prejudging people. Put your best foot forward and recognize that you can't always judge a book by the cover, as the saying goes. You must embrace that differences in people benefit the business. There's so many different ways that it can benefit it. Sometimes we have a tendency to think people need to meet our expectations. Well, why not take a step back and recognize if we're good leaders, we're valuing the differences that are there and honoring people by doing so. Write and speak in language that's respectful, sensitive, and appropriate to the recipient. So then again, you're you really need to think about each individual as you're moving through your journeys. Demonstrate cultural flexibility and empathy. Encourage a range of ideas, perspectives, and personal styles. Know there's more than one right way to do things. We've kind of already talked about that. And again, I know I'm going very fast, but the cool thing about videos is you can stop it and back things up. So if I say things too quickly, take a step back and check these things out again. You need to be aware of cultural and other biases that you may have. Maybe you favor one group of people, or maybe you have a preference to a specific communication style or a specific way of doing things, or know that there's context in everything. And some cultures there's larger context than other contexts, so you've got to take those things into consideration. Communicate effectively with people from different cultures. Wow, it's, you know, learning another language, learning to speak their language, trying to speak, you know, when in Rome, do as the Romans, really is excellent advice as it comes to being culturally aware and being an effective diversity manager. So here's some bottom lines about workplace diversity. Companies that diversify their workforces will have a distinct competitive advantage over those that don't. We've talked about that. You guys are sharing that in your discussions. Good job. The greatest benefits of the workforce will be experienced not by the companies that have learned to employ people in spite of their differences, but by the companies that have learned to employ people because of those differences. So those are very key. Here's how to build some diverse people skills. So step one, we talked about be aware of culture. There's elements, a pervasiveness, and impacts, as well as similarities and differences among major culture groups. Number two, learn about your own culture. We've talked about that. Recognize that the beliefs and customs that you may accept as reality are only one way of viewing the world, the way of your culture. So we call that a paradigm. Our reality is not necessarily the reality, and that's you probably coming this far and being in a doctoral program. I'm sure most of you get that. Number three, recognize your own biases. The ways in which you stereotype, you assume, you judge, you discriminate. We're always discriminating. You know, when we're choosing one thing, we're not choosing other things. So discrimination is not just about you know, race. It's about actions. And so think about that. Learn about other cultures. You know, we need to move beyond our own biases and belief systems, and then we need to do things that help us understand these other cultures, and we've been talking about that. Recognize the cultural differences. That they may be the root of what feels like a problem. And then if you can show appreciation for the contributions in a genuine way, that's going to help things a lot better. And then build interaction skills. You know, we need to learn to change our own actions through self-awareness. You know, you can do skill builders, work on case studies, do interviews, and apply new understandings to people and situations and work. And be involved in diverse groups. The more you get involved, the more you become accepting and you start understanding ways of being. So here's 6 steps to make diversity work. So we're talking about an action plan. Create a vision. Conduct an audit. You know, most organizations should reflect the customer base. Let's take a university for instance. You know, if you take a look at your professors and then you take a look at the diversity of the students, do they look the same? You know, there's in upper management, you know, deans, directors, vice presidents, presidents, chancellors, all of these should be in alignment.